Chicago judge scolds Trump enforcer after kids tear gassed on way to Halloween party. A federal judge in Chicago had a clear message to the Trump administration. She will enforce her court orders limiting the type of force agents can use in the city. U.S. District Court Judge Sarah L. Ellis on October 28th ordered Homeland Security officials to turn over all use of force reports and related body camera footage that the agency has in connection with the Chicago area crackdown. She also cited an October 25th incident in a North Side neighborhood in which she said trick-or-treaters were tear-gassed on their way to celebrate Halloween. What part of immigration crackdown involves children in costumes? Additionally, she warned that she better not receive any complaints on Halloween night of tear gas being used near children. She said, and I quote, "Know that it is a day when people are going to be out minding their own business." You know, the whole minding their own business, that's something that people on the right might want to take into consideration, because all of these agendas that go bump in the night for right-wing conservatives, if you mind your own business, it's amazing how all those agendas disappear. You all are pushing agendas down each other's throats. She also ordered agents to provide information on anyone arrested in connection with protesting immigration enforcement and to have the Border Patrol's top leader in the area deliver daily reports in person at the courthouse, as well as begin using body cameras. This means that during one of his daily briefings, he's going to have to explain the handful of individuals who were arrested and then indicted for protesting outside of an ICE facility. And one of those indicted happens to be a political candidate in the state of Illinois. Ellis, who issued orders limiting the kinds of tactics immigration enforcement agents can use amid the White House's crackdown in Illinois, hauled the administration's top enforcement official, Customs and Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Gregory Bovino, into court to ensure he understood the limits she put upon him and his agents. The judge questioned Bovino, President Donald Trump's face of the Operation Midway Blitz, in response to court filings contending he and his agents have violated orders she gave limiting how agents use chemical weapons and physical force. Why are chemical weapons needed? I thought the whole premise of this was investigating and then arresting those with criminal records engaged in criminal behavior that were here undocumented. Why do you need to be out in the streets? Ellis issued a temporary restraining order in connection with a lawsuit brought by journalists, clergy, and protesters that agents were using force unnecessarily. Ellis's orders compel agents to give warnings before using chemical agents such as pepper spray and limit using physical force to instances where agents face immediate harm. From everything that I've seen of the injuries to ICE agents, the whole immediate harm would be coming from the ICE agents themselves. And once again, why do they need to be in the streets? And if they can't handle protesters, how sway are they supposed to handle raids? Since Ellis first issued the restraining order on October 9th, lawyers for the journalist have filed multiple notices that federal agents have violated Ellis's orders. Most recently, lawyers for the journalist, clergy, and protesters filed notice that Bovino violated her orders in tear-gassing protesters in a raid on a Chicago Mexican neighborhood. I'm not afraid to enforce this TRO, Ellis told lawyers for the Department of Homeland Security about 90 minutes after Bovino took the stand. I have serious questions about whether it's being followed, so under my inherent power to enforce the TRO, this is what I'm requiring. Lawyers for Homeland Security objected to Ellis's new orders, but the judge said she would not change them and would issue them in writing shortly. Yeah, they just want lawlessness. Lawlessness for them, but not anyone else. Where are all the good old boys who said that they needed their arsenals, their personal armories, for when the government was getting too big for its britches? What happened to the "don't tread on me" crowd? Isn't this the unrest that you were waiting for that Civil War 2.0? In Texas, isn't this a prime time for you to finally fulfill your wet dream and secede? Ellis denied a request from the attorneys for civilians to bar agents' use of tear gas altogether. At the end of his testimony, Bovino told Ellis, "We will abide by the TRO and all the accoutrements contained therein." Yeah, I believe that about as much as I believe as Trump is an intelligent, healthy, muscular individual. Not at all. The hearing at the Dirksen Federal Courthouse in Chicago comes as the U.S. Supreme Court weighs whether to let the White House deploy the military to the city. The Trump administration says troops are needed to carry out an immigration enforcement crackdown aimed at the worst of the worst criminal immigrants. Once again, what happened to the investigation that would pinpoint exactly where people were so that they could simply be apprehended? Why is all of this needed? And I thought that the reasoning for deployments of military forces was to crack down on criminality in these cities. And didn't have anything to do with immigration. This reeks of political intimidation and to create unrest on these lands so that Trump can have no further elections. Did you all forget when he asked Zelensky point blank in the White House about elections and war? Local Democratic officials view the blitz as a power grab by the Republican White House and have taken issue with federal agents using chemical weapons on residential streets during enforcement raids. On October 27th, Homeland Security Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs said over 3,000 illegal aliens, including rapists, murderers, and gang members, have been arrested in connection with the blitz. Where's the evidence? Where are the court dates? When are the arraignments? What are their names? Who are their victims? For there to be so many victims out here, they're radio silent. USA Today has not been able to independently verify the criminal background or immigration status of detainees. Homeland Security officials did not immediately respond to further requests for comment on Ellis's new orders. And if these individuals truly are the criminal element, why hide them away from legal representation? Why not blast all of their trials all over every possible network to prove that you were right this whole time and you're just trying to keep everyone safe? Maybe it's just a lie.